There is a man inside you that has never spoken out loud. He doesn't post. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't beg for attention or apologize for what he wants. And here's what nobody will tell you. That man is terrifying to the people around you. Not because he's aggressive, not because he's cold, but because a man who has complete control over himself cannot be manipulated, cannot be bought, and cannot be stopped. Most people will never meet that version of themselves. You're about to, but I need to warn you first. What I'm about to show you isn't a morning routine. It's not a productivity hack. It's a complete psychological rewiring. And some of what I say is going to make you uncomfortable. Because real discipline isn't about adding things to your life. It's about destroying the parts that are keeping you small. Niccolo Machiavelli spent his life studying power. Not the kind that comes from titles or money, but the kind that comes from absolute mastery of the self. He wrote for strategists, not saints. And what he understood about human nature, weakness, and control is as relevant today as it was 500 years ago. We are going to apply his philosophy directly to your life. 6 principles, 6 phases of transformation. By the end of this, you will understand exactly what has been keeping you small and what it will cost you to change it. Stay with me. Let me describe where you are right now. You're not lazy. You're not stupid. You're actually someone with real vision. You can see the life you want with perfect clarity. The problem is the gap between that vision and your daily reality keeps growing. You make a decision on Monday. By Wednesday, it's gone. You download the app, buy the book, watch the video, and then nothing changes. You wake up every morning carrying the quiet weight of broken promises you made to yourself. And the worst part? You don't even know why you keep failing. Here's why. You have been trained your entire life to outsource your willpower. You wait for motivation. You wait for the right moment. You wait for someone to believe in you first. And when those things don't show up, which they often don't, you collapse back into comfort. Machiavelli saw this clearly. He wrote that men are driven by impulse far more than by reason, and that the man who cannot govern his own impulses will always be governed by someone else. The soft version of you is not just unproductive. It is a liability. It is the enemy of your own future. And until you treat it like one, nothing will change. So let's go to work. The first thing that will change your life is also the simplest thing I will say today. Stop talking about what you're building. Machiavelli famously wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few truly know what you are. The average man cannot resist the urge to broadcast himself. He posts the first workout. He announces the new chapter. He makes the speech before he has written the first sentence. And it feels good in the moment. Because it is good in the moment. Your brain gets a dopamine hit just from the declaration. The problem is that hit costs you. It releases the pressure that was supposed to drive you forward. You got the reward before you did the work, and now your brain doesn't need to follow through. This is one of the most studied patterns in behavioral psychology. It's called social reality substitution. When you announce a goal publicly and people respond positively, your mind partially registers the goal as already achieved. The drive drops. The action doesn't follow. The most dangerous people in any room are never the loudest ones. They're the quiet ones, the ones who are watching, processing, building, and saying nothing. When you go silent, something interesting happens to the people around you. They get uncomfortable. They start projecting. They start asking questions you don't answer. And slowly, they begin to sense that you are operating on a different frequency. That silence is not rudeness. It is strategy. It is Machiavellian in the truest sense. You are controlling what information the world has about you, and therefore controlling how the world responds to you. Think about what it would mean to disappear for 90 days. No announcements, no updates, no grinding posts, just the work, the gym, the craft, the mission. And then you resurface. Not to tell people you changed, but to simply be changed. You don't need to explain the new version of you. People will feel it before you say a word. They'll see it in the way you carry yourself. They'll notice it in the things you no longer react to. They'll sense something has shifted, and they'll be right. Build in the dark. Stop looking for validation before you've built anything worth validating. Stop asking the world for permission to become who you need to be. The moment you stop requiring external confirmation, you become remarkably difficult to manipulate. Nobody can threaten you with their approval because you stop needing it. One practical rule: before you speak about any goal, ask yourself, does saying this out loud move me closer to the outcome, or does it just make me feel better right now? If the answer is the second one, close your mouth and go to work. Now, here's where most people get it wrong about discipline. They think disciplined people don't feel anything. They think the guy who wakes up at 5 a.m. loves it. They think the person who never misses a workout is somehow wired differently. Like the desire to quit just doesn't exist for them. That is completely false. The disciplined person feels everything: the exhaustion, the resistance, the voice that says, you can skip today, you've earned it. The pull of the couch, the phone, the distraction. They feel all of it. The difference is that they have stopped consulting those feelings before they act. Machiavelli argued that a leader must never be ruled by emotion, but must learn to use emotion. He understood that the men who allow their feelings to dictate their actions will always be predictable, and a predictable man is a controllable man. There's a concept I want you to understand: emotional decoupling. It means your actions and your feelings are no longer attached to each other. You do not need to feel good to perform. You do not need to feel ready to start. You do not need to feel motivated to move. Think about what that actually means in practice. If your output only exists when your internal state is favorable, when you're energized, when you're inspired, when things are going well, then your output is entirely dependent on circumstances you cannot control. You are only as productive as your best days, and your best days are not guaranteed. But if you build the habit of acting in direct opposition to how you feel, if you train when you're tired, focus when you're scattered, push when you want to stop, then circumstances lose their power over you. You become consistent in a way that genuinely unnerves people, because they're waiting for you to break, and you don't. Here's a tool that works: the 5-second rule. When you need to do something and you feel the resistance rising, count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Move. Don't give your brain time to negotiate. The moment you start thinking about it, your mind will build a case against action. It's not laziness, it's neurology. Your brain is wired to protect you from discomfort, not to drive you toward greatness. You have to interrupt that pattern before it completes. Do it enough times, and something remarkable happens. You stop identifying as someone who tries to be disciplined. You become someone who simply acts. The identity shifts, and once the identity shifts, the behavior follows automatically. Treat your emotions like weather conditions. You check the forecast, you acknowledge the storm, and then you put on a coat and you walk out anyway. The mission doesn't change because the weather changed. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said that fortune is like a river. It floods and destroys, but only where there are no embankments to hold it. You are building those embankments inside yourself every single day. Now I want to talk about something that will cost you relationships, not because you'll become a bad person, but because growth has a social tax, and almost nobody warns you about it. Machiavelli wrote that a wise man must rely on what is in his own control, not on what is in the control of others. And when you start applying that principle seriously, when you stop needing people's approval to feel secure, things around you will begin to shift. When you start taking your standards seriously, some of the people around you will not celebrate that. They will get uncomfortable. They will start making jokes. They'll say you've changed, that you're obsessed, that you used to be more fun. And on the surface, that sounds like criticism. What it actually is a mirror. Your discipline holds up a reflection that some people don't want to see. When you stop drinking, the person next to you has to face their own relationship with alcohol. When you start training, the person who's been meaning to start for 2 years has to sit with why they haven't. Your progress doesn't judge them, but it reminds them of their own standards, and that's unbearable for some people. You are going to have to become comfortable being the villain in certain stories, not because you're cruel, not because you've become arrogant, but because you've simply decided that you are no longer willing to shrink yourself to make other people comfortable. That is not a crime. That is self-respect. The great figures of history, the artists, the builders, the leaders who changed things, almost all of them had significant periods of profound isolation, not because they hated people, but because they understood that clarity requires silence, And silence requires space. And space means sometimes being alone. Find your version of that. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be 1 hour a day, phone off, door closed, completely alone with your work and your thoughts. At first, it's going to feel wrong. You'll feel the urge to check in, to connect, to see what's happening elsewhere. That urge is the addiction to distraction. Sit with the discomfort. It passes. And in that space, in the quiet, you will encounter the version of yourself that has been trying to speak for years. The one who knows exactly what you want and exactly what it requires. That voice gets clearer every time you choose solitude over noise. And paradoxically, the more comfortable you become with your own company, the more magnetic you become to others, because you stop needing something from every interaction. You stop subtly pulling on people for validation or approval. You become full, and full people are rare. Here is the brutal truth about why most people fail. It is not lack of information. It is not lack of talent. It is not bad luck or bad timing. It is low standards. Specifically, standards that have been quietly lowered over time through a series of small compromises, each one feeling completely reasonable in the moment. You skipped one day and nothing collapsed, so you skipped another. You made one exception and justified it, so you made another. And slowly, the floor dropped out from under you. Machiavelli studied the great civilizations, Rome, Sparta, the republics that rose and fell across centuries, and his conclusion was clear. They did not fall because of outside enemies. They rotted from within. They lost their discipline. They became comfortable, and comfort, allowed to run unchecked, is the silent death of everything great. You are living in the most comfort-saturated period in human history. Every system around you is optimized to keep you sedated. The entertainment, the food, the social media, the dopamine loops that make you feel like you're experiencing something when you're actually just consuming. To be rigorously disciplined in this environment is genuinely countercultural. It is an act of defiance. You have to declare war on comfort, not on rest. Rest is strategic, not on pleasure. That's just self-harm in reverse, but on comfort as a default, on choosing the path of least resistance, not because it's right, but because it's easy. Set standards that seem unreasonable to average people, and then hold them not by white-knuckling through every day, but by building an identity around them. You are not someone who is trying to eat well. You are someone for whom this is simply not negotiable. You are not someone who is trying to be more consistent. You are someone who does not recognize inconsistency as an option. Guard your time with the same aggression you would protect anything truly valuable. Every minute you hand over to pointless argument, mindless scrolling, or energy-draining people who do not serve your mission is a minute taken directly from the future you claim to want. Time is the one resource with no refund policy. When you operate at that level, you exit the competition almost entirely. Most people are fighting for the same mediocre bracket. The standards you've set have moved you somewhere else. The air is thinner up there. The silence is different. But the view is unmatched. This is the part nobody wants to hear. To become the person I've been describing, you have to let the old version of you die. Not metaphorically, not gradually. You have to hold the funeral for who you were. The person who needed approval, who quit when things got hard, who apologized for wanting more, who let other people's comforts set the ceiling on his own ambition. Machiavelli said, "There is no avoiding war. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others." You are at war with your past self, and if you do not win that war, he will win it for you. He will drag you back into the old habits. He will whisper in your ear when things get hard. Just take a break. Just skip today. Just this once. You have to recognize that voice for what it is. It is not wisdom. It is the ghost of who you used to be. The process is painful. You may lose friendships. You may be misunderstood by people you love. You will face moments where the easier path is so obviously right there that choosing the harder one feels almost irrational, and you will choose it anyway. Because you understand now that the pain of transformation and the pain of staying the same are not equal. One of them ends, the other one doesn't. On the other side of that process is a version of you that is quieter, sharper, and harder to move. A version that carries himself differently, that doesn't need to announce anything, that walks into a room and shifts the energy without saying a word. That version isn't some distant fantasy. He is the direct result of the decisions you make starting from today. The discipline is the throne. The self-mastery is the kingdom. Everything else, the results, the respect, the freedom, those are just what happens when you stop waiting for the right conditions and start treating your life like the serious project it is. As Machiavelli knew, and as the Stoics confirmed before him, the man who conquers himself is greater than the man who conquers a city. There is no higher victory, and it is available to you right now. So here's where you actually are. You've heard all 6 principles: silence, emotional decoupling, productive solitude, social awareness, absolute standards, and the death of who you were. Now comes the only question that matters. Are you going to let this be something you watched, or something that changed you? The information exists, the framework exists, the path is visible. What happens next is entirely on you, which is exactly how it should be. Nobody is going to make this choice for you. Nobody is going to hold you accountable. Nobody is even going to notice if you slip back into the old patterns. Except you. The world right now is getting softer, louder, more distracted, more dependent. That is not a threat to you. It is your advantage. While attention spans collapse, yours sharpens. While standards drop, yours rise. While everyone competes to be noticed, you disappear and build. You are going to scare some people, not because you tried to, but because a man who no longer needs validation, no longer reacts to provocation, no longer negotiates with his own weakness, is rare enough to be unsettling. Machiavelli wrote his philosophy in exile, stripped of his status, cast out with nothing left but his mind and his honesty. And in that darkness, he wrote the words that would outlive every king and emperor of his era. He didn't need the applause. He needed the truth. Your discipline is your truth. It is the only thing that is fully yours. They can take your money. They can take your reputation. But they cannot take your ability to endure. That is your fortress. That is your throne. Let them be unsettled. You have work to do. If this hit different, drop a comment below. Tell me which of the 6 principles you needed to hear most. And if you want to go deeper into the psychology of power, Machiavellian strategy, and the mindset they never taught you in school, subscribe to Psychology Busted and turn on notifications. We are just getting started. The old version of you is done. Now go build the new one.